My name is Kervin Marc. My company is Kervin Marc Limited. I make clothing, artwork, and I also upcycle and recycle materials, especially like military uniforms. I make things beautiful, from very simple materials. When I piece it together and made an individual piece, then it's a rare piece, which not many people have. So that makes it a bit more special. So in that case, it makes it luxury, which is the old-fashioned way of what luxury used to be. You make a very small run, very well made, and you don't make many of them. So it's a unique product for unique individuals, and that was only given to people in the past who had lots of money and could afford that. I was blessed. I was born in the Caribbean, in the sunshine, amongst my family. My interests were sport and art, and drawing. So I've been blessed that way because I'm good, I'm athletic, and I'm creative. So that's been my life story. You don't just wake up in the middle of the night and then you draw amazingly well. Initially you draw, and let's say you're trying to draw a face. The first time you draw, it's not always what's in your mind. So then you practice. You practice and you practice, and you get closer and closer to what's in your mind, so your hand can then draw what's in your mind after practicing and practicing, okay? Or what your eye sees. Sport is the same. You see a football, you kick it. Right, yeah, but can you kick it and make it curl and go into a corner? Then you do it over and over and over and over again. And that's what I'm good at. Any artist or sportsman is a fool to say that anything is perfect. In my opinion, it doesn't exist. Perfection doesn't exist. What exists is the idea of perfection, and actually imperfections are perfections for me. My main motivation, I suppose, is to express my own ideas and my own individuality and to have fun. It is a great thing to be doing that work, and I suppose the timing now is right. I like to sell or create work that everybody can understand, but particularly younger people. I want everybody to get it, but I particularly want the young to get it, because they are going to inherit the world for tomorrow. And the ethos of not wasting. I have my young kids, myself and my wife, we raise them not to waste anything, and be thankful for the things that we have. So that don't waste and so on. That's very important. And let's look after the planet and let's recycle. The even bigger idea, I think, is, well, I don't know if you can get any bigger than saving the planet, to be fair, right? But the idea maybe below that is individuality. It's really important that we are all individuals. So within my work, where I'm reworking, say, military uniforms, I find the irony in selling somebody a uniform so that they can be different, right? And it's just reminding people, you're wearing a uniform now, right? Are you the same as everybody else? Do you like being the same as everybody else? Is that jacket that I've made for you, is it the same as the other jacket that I've made? No, it's not. So it's a reminder that you are actually not exactly the same as the other person. Embrace your individuality. And that's the big, really important thing, especially in today's time when there seems to be a lot of people who just want to be the same as everybody else, to become this homogenous mass. But remember that we are individuals, and that's a beautiful thing. In the long term, I suppose I want to leave a legacy of what I've done. I want to create work which is relevant, not just today, but in the future. And I want people to, understand my work and perhaps its significance for the time that it was in, whether with my artwork as well. And I want to build a business where, my family, my children can actually inherit and keep passing on this message of individuality and quality, luxury, utility. If my younger self saw me now, he would be, wow. He'd be like, wow, I never realized it was possible, to get this far. So my older self now needs to carry on and have that same effect in a few years' time, on my older self. When I was 10 years old, growing up, I'd come from the Caribbean now. I'd been in England 1 year in London, in Shepherd's Bush. We did a competition where we had to create costumes as a 10-year-old. And I created a giant lobster, right, out of papier-mâché. To me, it was natural, and it was such an emotional thing because I'd been away from the sea side. I grew next to the sea in St. Lucia, and I knew what a lobster looked like, right? So I created a massive one, which I then wore. I suppose, you know, there were little kids with little bits of, you know, 10-year-olds with bits of pieces, which was nice, I'm sure. But there was this lanky 10-year-old with a massive lobster. Now, this made the local paper as a 10-year-old, right? And at that moment, you know, my mum was so proud. I was very proud of my lobster. And I figured, you know what? I'd love to just keep creating big, massive lobsters. So at that moment, I figured actually that's a moment I'd want to become an artist. There's a saying in sport, form is temporary, class is permanent. You don't become like a great ballet dancer by just turning up and you're a great ballet dancer. People don't see the hours and hours of practice in your sport or in your art, but then they see the magic that you create. If you're a sports person, on a day, you can do things that you didn't even know that you could do. But that's because of the level of practice that you've done. During the game, whatever game that is, you're not thinking about, I'm going to do that move, because you've only got seconds, you've got half a second sometimes, right? So you have to make decisions that look magical. But that's because you've practiced it so much. And it's very hard to actually imagine the hours of practice that you've done. So when you're then creating a piece of artwork, right, it looks like magic, right? Because people can't, like when we're watching a film, you forget that a film is a piece of artwork. That's because there's been hours and hours and hours. Even this interview, you know, it took 10 times as long as you're watching. Yeah. So there is magic in that.